How to be more articulate. 5 proven strategies. So my name's Jackson Kirchis, and I am a professional speaker, which I always found that title a bit odd and overbearing, but it's true. I get paid a pretty good amount of money to go give speeches and talks, mostly on our subject matter, which you found on this channel, which is all about happiness and happiness at work. But in this video, we're changing gears a little bit, and I want to give you really like 5 tips you can think about in your own speaking, whether it's formal speaking or presenting, or perhaps more likely just in a conversation or maybe a informal presentation at work. How do you become more articulate? Well, let's get into it. The first thing, if you want to think about how to actually influence and reach people, which is kind of the goal of being articulate, is you have to have a reason why. And this is going to be the most conceptual of the rules. The other ones are more tactical, so bear with me. But what I mean by this is, why do you care? And why should the people listening care? You know, if you ask me to present on something that just truly doesn't matter, this is why our traffic lights should actually have 4 circles instead of 3. It's that actually would maybe be an interesting thesis, but I don't really care. So I'm not gonna probably come across as passionate as I could. So this can be tricky, right? Because even if it's maybe a work presentation and you're not, sending a rocket to Mars or speaking on equality or some life-changing issue, right? Just think for a moment of why it's important that you get your message across. How is it going to impact them? How is it going to impact your company? How is it maybe going to impact you and set you up for more success, right? So just associate to the value of it. And the reason you have to have that why, even if your why is just simply we have to share this information, no one needs it, but the company requires it, at least I want to give it to them in a way that's engaging and useful, right? It doesn't have to be this over-the-top dream. But if you actually associate, why am I doing this? I have a gift to give these people in some small way. You're going to come across with way more conviction, way more passion, way more purpose than if you're just standing up there the results from last quarter, and we have this new tech that you have to implement, and here are the 3 steps, blah, blah, blah. So that's the first one, is associate to the value, to the why you're speaking, and that's going to help you to be more passionate, more purposeful, which is going to help you then to be more articulate. That's number 1. Number 2, this is real basic speaker trick here that you can steal and use to great effect. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. One more time, because I sort of botched this, which is funny given this is a video about being articulate, but I want to show you how you can transition out of that. You're going to tell the audience what you're about to tell them. Then you tell them, and then you tell them what you just told them. Okay, so I'll actually give kind of an example of this. So let me really quickly tell you about why school buses are the color yellow. So school buses are the color yellow, interestingly, because they were founded by Jonathan Schoolbus in the late 1930s, and his favorite color was yellow. And then when he talked to the local authorities, they said, yeah, that's going to be the color that's going to be easiest for us to see. It doesn't blend in with anything. It catches your attention. And so it's going to limit the amount of accidents we'd have with the school buses. So you want to know why school buses are the color yellow? It really had to do with how they were invented in the late 30s. Okay, first things first. I made up everything in that story off the top of my head. But do you see what I did? Here's what I'm going to tell you, and then you give the idea, and then you remind the audience what you just told them. So I know it can maybe come across as a little bit too much, but as you're speaking, it's useful because it sets up your audience to understand, okay, so they're about to talk about the quarterly business plan. Then you're going through everything in the quarterly business plan, and then you recap the main highlights of the quarterly business plan, right? It kind of puts a bookend chapters together, fills it out almost like an articulation sandwich of sorts. So think about that, and you can use that in your informal conversations. Let's say, you're talking to your wife about where you're going to go to dinner. There's maybe a example where it's going to be overused, and you're like, honey, all right, let me just give you a few reasons here why we should go to Chick-fil-A for dinner. So number 1, Chick-fil-A has really good chicken. Number 2, they have great service. Number 3, they have really good company values. So it really comes down to the taste, the values, and the service. That's why we should go to Chick-fil-A. So all of a sudden, you start to see how that makes you sound almost way more articulate just because you've packaged it in that way. This is not sponsored by Chick-fil-A, by the way, but if they'd like to, I'm open to it. Okay, number 3 is tell a story. You know, this is one of the most powerful tools. Any way you can use a story, especially when you're opening, it's going to help you come across as way more articulate. So even just imagine if this video opened this way, and I should have done it this way. You know, I remember my very first speech. I had flown all night. I got stranded actually in the Atlanta airport. So I spent all night sleeping in the waiting room at the Atlanta airport. So I got to Savannah finally, and I was just a wreck. I walk into the room, it's a crowd of 300 people, and I am so nervous. I walk up onto the stage, and I took my notes with me. That's how nervous I was and how lousy of a job I did. But I'm like shaking reading this, and I'm ready to speak. And all right, you're hooked. You're like, what did he say? What happened? Well, I'm not gonna tell you right now. It didn't go super well. But the idea here is you can imagine me starting this video that way to then tee up how I'm gonna talk about how to be more articulate. That's a way better opening than what you usually get, right? Of, hey, good morning, I'm Jackson. Today I'm gonna talk to you about blah, blah, blah. So use stories whenever you can, especially at the beginning or end. The beginning to tee up what you're about to talk about. At the end, to summarize and illustrate the point. Okay. So we are on to number 4 already. Okay, this one I'm not going to talk too much about. It's just repetition. You know, I just gave a TEDx talk at Harvard, and I repped it probably 26 times to the point where like I got up there and it was just wired. It wasn't even memorized. That's different. You don't want to memorize. You want to internalize. So you can imagine how many times you've told the same thing or the same story. If you've done it like literally 100 times, it's gonna come out differently a little bit each time. So it's not memorized, but it's just flowing out of you. If you know every word to a song, right? Like you don't have to consciously think like, okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of, what flag was I pledging allegiance to? Is it the United? No, it's just like I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, because as a kid in elementary school, you said it 500 times. So rehearse and repeat and get those reps in until it's internalized and it just flows, right? You don't have to do it word for word, but you've told that story or made that point or run through that presentation so many times that it's just wired. It's just automatic, okay? That's where you get really extreme levels of articulation, and you have the ability to improvise more effectively because someone interrupts you or you lose your train of thought, you adapt, and it just flows back in as opposed to trying to be like, wait, where was I in my script? Okay? Then the final one I'm gonna give you is just a simple acronym. BSS. BSS, BSS. Breathe, stance, smile. Breathe, stance, smile. That's what you're gonna do the moment you walk up to give the presentation, to have the conversation, to even just in like a job interview, or if you're speaking on stage to thousands of people. BSS. So you're gonna take a deep breath and slow exhale as you walk up. At the same time, you're focusing on your stance, which is gonna be a slight bend in the knees. You're upright, relaxing your shoulders, and then you're smiling. So you can imagine if I'm walking up, I'll just actually come in here. It's great to see you. Boom, it's like changing your physiology so that you're getting focused, but you're also getting calm and you're getting a little bit more positive energy, right? So the breath, that big breath and slow is gonna help you to center and calm. And then the stance is just gonna help you get your physical energy right and get settled in. And then smile. And just by communicating in this way, look at it, you're probably thinking, wow, I sound even more articulate, right? Just focusing on those 3 things. So in this video, we have covered, start with why. Why is it important? What is the message you have to give to them? Why is it valuable? Then tell them what you're gonna tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Remember the packaging there. Use stories whenever you can, especially at the beginning or end. Get your reps in, and remember BSS. Breathe, stance, smile. If you use those tools and tips, you're going to come across as a lot more articulate, and you're gonna be extremely successful in any speaking endeavor you have. So thanks for watching. On this channel, we share a bunch of tips to help you to be happier and more successful both at work and in life. So happinessmeansbusiness.com, that's where we speak, train, coach. We do stuff on speaking and executive presence and leadership as well, if that's what you're into. Happiness PhD Project is kind of my personal thought leadership brand where I share stuff stuff from the art and science of happiness. So subscribe, check out our newsletter down below, anything you want, and just reach out if I can help you with anything. But otherwise, I thank you for watching, and I wish you speaking success.